Malik tweeted that, in fact, they didn't make the bet officially. Like, they're not going to do it because it's going to violate the NFL betting policy. Well, all they really had to do to get around this, I think, is just say, yeah, we're going to bet $10,000. The winner, so the loser has to pay the winner's charity of choice.
I don't even think that's allowed. I don't think that's allowed with players and coaches.
You can't donate.
Now,
to someone's charity?
mayors of cities can do that. I seriously don't think that if you said, I'm going to wager on something in the NFL and we're going to pay whatever the amount is to a charity, I don't think they would allow that. I know the NFL is very strict and serious about this. There's no way to get around this other than the fact they can just say, well, you can't prove it. We were just joking.
Well, it's not. It's just a donation, though, at the end of the day. If you could prove that you're making that donation.
But I think any type of if I lose, I pay on an NFL result, even if it's to charity, is, you could go and I'm sure they could say, hey, we're going to go have an arm wrestling contest in the offseason or do this, and then the loser pays the charity, or a golf event, head-to-head, loser pays charity. That would be fun.
It's interesting because the NFL will fine players. Where does that money go? It goes to a charity of the NFL's choosing, and you better believe they're writing that off. On top of fining players. A lot of players don't even know really where the money goes. They don't get told. It's just taken out of their account, of their check. So that would be quite the headline, though. If Jayden Daniels wanted and Malik Nabers wanted to donate $10,000 to a charity, a nonprofit, and the NFL said no. That would be quite the headline.
They're busted. They're busted under the policy, and the NFL could say
unless you made the bet.
So
cash bet that wasn't paid isn't a bet.
Well, even saying that we made the wager under the NFL policy, they violated the policy. How they get away with it is they say, no, we're not going to give you our phone to see if we texted about it. And they could just brush it off as, yeah, we were joking around. It was never really serious. We talked about it, but no bet was actually placed. Hearsay, move on, nothing to see here, and then everybody goes about their business. That's how I would handle it. But, Tom Brady, they went after him for deflating footballs with his phone. He destroyed it.
Yeah.
Before the NFL could look at it, right?
That happened. That was...
how far do you really want to take this if you're the NFL, I guess is my point. And I keep coming back to, you joke about, hey, no quarterback's been popped yet. Well, here's a quarterback. That's going to start for Washington.
They're not going to, but they're going to just point back to the bet wasn't made.
Exactly. They're going to go after the ones they can prove through the betting apps.
Yeah, the betting apps turn them in.
But with something like this, I think they know these guys can just play it off, and we could probably tell them, don't ever do something like that again, and move on and not do anything.
So the other thing, too, is
I would
assumption.
say that by the letter of the law, they violated it.
So anyone that's placed a bet in college sports would be in violation of the NFL policy, and they'd be banned indefinitely?
Well, I think they're NFL.
Because if this bet took place prior to the draft, they're not an NFL player. However, didn't the NFL punish Terrell Pryor for Tattoo Gate or whatever took place?
Yeah.
So if you have a player in college who places a bet, you see what I'm saying?
Well, remember when the whole speculation was that Jim Harbaugh could be suspended by the NFL for his involvement with Connor Stallions?
Well, if it got deeper than what it was.
Look, he's an NFL player when he mentioned this on the podcast, just like Malik Nabers is an NFL player.
But he's saying
they mentioned it.
But Brian Clark specifically asked, "Did you make this prior to the draft?" He said yes. And he's joking like, "Well, I guess you knew you were going top 10 if you're going to make that bet with your quarterback."
I don't think they were thinking anything about them doing something illegal though. Because he immediately went to, you got to be top 8 to win it. Because that's who usually wins it.
Dave Bustos Armando has said on the site that it is in violation of the league's policy. But see, the bet would be taking place during the NFL season for the player. Making the wager prior to becoming an NFL player, I don't think is deemed illegal. It's actually paying up on said bet, settling the bet. Which once you're locked in on the app, you're locked in on the app. This is going to be cash wagers, so there's no way to actually say you actually had the bet going. Because it's not locked in to where you can cash out or whatever. You don't have an account. You don't have it tied to your bank account.
I think there's a lot of
Major League Baseball would let Ohtani get away with it.
There's a lot of plausible deniability. That they could just say, we talked about it. Yeah, Malik mentioned it. I was asked a question about it. We never really took it overly seriously. We're both competitive people. We were teammates at LSU, yada, 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 whatever. And then they can play it off that way. This is violation, though, of the policy. If they made a bet leading up to the draft where they're both drafted top 10 and they made a bet about who's going to be Rookie of the Year, that's in violation of the league policy. I don't think there's any way around that. The problem is no one can really prove it.
Well, they're not, but it's tough to say that they're in violation of a policy that they're not a part of yet. They're not a member of the NFLPA at that point.
I think if there is a standing wager while you're an NFL player, which they are admitting there that
saying.
it is.
Yeah, but it's not in violation yet. It would be in violation as an NFL player. That they never paid up on.
I mean, if they find that someone bet on the Super Bowl champion right now and it hasn't paid out yet, you're telling me they're not going to say you're in violation of the rule?
If I'm going into the NFL draft and I've said, next year I'm going to bet the Chiefs go 3-peat, and then I never pay up on that, and it's just a cash bet. It's just a cash bet.
Well, again, I mean, that's...
Wait, and we say, you know what, the bet's off. They've said the bet's off.
Well, that's cash bet or no. You can't make cash bets either.
No,
they don't want you betting on the NFL.
But no cash was exchanged.
Yeah, but you can't even make a wager. You can't, just like I can't go online if I'm in the draft and haven't been drafted yet and say I'm putting 5 large on the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. You can't come back and when the league says, "Hey, you've got this bet here, we're going to suspend you." They're not going to come back and say, "Well, no money's changed hands."
I would love to know what would happen if they said, "Oh, we're going to donate it to charity," and see what happens.
I think they're pretty clearly in violation of the rules. I just think they can play it off like we didn't do anything.
Well, they're in violation if they're an NFL player, because there's nothing. College, the investigation with Iowa, with the Iowa State kicker, the backup. I mean, there was no discussion about if said player made a bet in college and then he becomes an NFL player. That's not in violation of the NFL policy.
Davey, what is Armando saying? Have you had a chance to read?
It's as an NFL player.
Have you had a chance to read the policy and what he's saying about it?
No, not all of it as of this moment, but I will get to that right now.
Okay. Let's figure out what he's saying.
Just send us the link. We'll just do this in real time then. Yeah, but I'm saying, like, if as an NFL player, they're saying the bet's off, according to Malik Nabers.
Yeah.
So there is no bet as an NFL player.
But it was on. They did that interview as an NFL player. So there were days that happened where they were drafted and they were NFL players and they had a bet.
Yeah, they said he made a bet.
That was live, and now they're saying the bet is off.
Right.
So,
and no money was exchanged.
Those days, yeah.
Meanwhile, if I make a bet on an app, they're turning me in, and you can trace that back to me, and I'm locked in on the bet.
I understand.
The bet's not off.
Of course, I understand all of that. I'm just saying the principle of it is they had an ongoing bet about the conclusion of the season. As NFL players, even if it was placed before they were officially NFL players, they admitted to it on a podcast.
Sure.
And then they're coming back and saying, "Hey, bet's off."
Right.
The NFL is probably not going to do anything to Jayden Daniels.
Or Malik Nabers.
But I still think I believe the NFL will come back and say, "Yeah, don't do that. That's in violation of the rules."
And they've walked it back, is what I'm saying. Like you can't. Gambling includes commercial gambling. It involves third parties, bookies, dealers, the house, as well as private wagers between teammates, family, or friends, or others. So the semantics are: when was the bet placed, and is the bet ongoing now as an NFL player? They just have to say no. You know, that's all.
Yeah, they're going to say no after they said yes.
Yeah,
they've already said
again,
yes,
Chad,
it's on.
They said yes, it's on prior to being drafted. That was also clarified on a podcast in the same answer.
Yes, but they said the bet is still ongoing on a podcast, and then after it got the negative response,
let's play it again.
They came back and said no.
Let's play the answer from Malik.
Yeah, they placed the bet
Nabers.
before the draft, but they're still on during this podcast. Let's play it.
You know, going against them is gonna be fun. You know, we got a bet going for Rookie of the Year.
Right. We have a bet going for Rookie of the Year.
Gotta pay.
That's off.
I think it's 10,000 cash.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, it's a big.
That's light.
It's light.
So did y'all make that bet before the draft?
Yeah.
You can only make that bet when you know you're going top 8.
Yeah.
Because 10, you don't make that bet. You might fall in the draft.
Now, here's where the evidence is really clear. Jayden Daniels knows the policy.
Yeah.
Because he says, we're focusing on Nabers. Jayden Daniels is the one that says, oh, he wasn't supposed to say anything.
Oh, no, he knew he was wrong. That's my point is like, I think the league was going to come back and say, don't do this. This is against the rules, even though now you're acting like it's off. And we believe you that it's off now. But having said that,
I bet it's still on.
Neighbor says it's on.
I bet it's
we
still on.
We got a bet that's on.
Because the cash bet, you're not going to be able to trace it. It's still on. It's still on, and the NFL's declining comment to OutKick, so it's still off.
Yeah, I think the NFL is going to wait a little bit. There may be like a later this afternoon news dump on that where they just put out a statement and say, it's against the policy. We've talked to them. There was nothing official done. They have agreed that no bet is happening, both of them, and we move on.
Yeah, they'll be brief.
That's probably what they're going to say.
But as Armando writes, it would be hard for the NFL to sanction two men as NFL players in violation of a league policy when supposed infraction occurred before either were part of the league.
Yeah.
But they have, I believe Terrell Pryor was he suspended like a month?
I mean, I think if the league came out and said that, they twist themselves into a pretzel at that point, because then you're basically inviting, hey, once your college season ends, even if you're entering the draft and you sign with an agent and everything else, you can do whatever. It's a free-for-all. Bet on whatever you want about the upcoming NFL season and your participation in it, as long as you're not drafted by the NFL in that time, and they don't want that.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you don't pay up as an NFL player, you're under a different policy at that point. But if you're betting on yourself as a professional, then you're in violation.
We are in one huge circle right now.
No, we're not. As long as you're an NFL player. But they're saying the bet's off. The NFL's declining comment. It's Jayden Daniels and Malik Nabers. They're going to, behind the scenes, say, hey, by the way, the NFL players currently act like they don't even know the policy. You think rookies coming into the league would know it? I would doubt that. And I bet the bet's still on. Publicly, it'll be off.
Did Nicholas Petit-Frere violate the rule as a rookie?
Yes, as an NFL player, he did.
Yeah.
Because he bet on an app about while on. By the way, he violated while using internet at a Titans facility or while at an NFL sanctioned place, which would be the plane.
I don't think ignorance is going to be an excuse on the policy. Is what I'm saying. The NFL is making that clear. Like, no, it's on you to know it. The moment they become NFL players, they're supposed to know it.
So they're suspended indefinitely.
I don't think they're going to do it, but I think they should do it if they want to abide by the rules, because they had an active bet going, even though they're denying it now.
What would Calvin Ridley think right now?
Calvin Ridley,
who bet a parlay, and he bet on his team,
to
win as a part of a parlay.
Clear violation of the rules with him.
Suspended for a year.
I think there's definitely gray area on the.
Oh yeah.
We did something before we were drafted and on a team.
And you know what else is the gray area?
But I think actively talking about it publicly while you're a player is a problem for the NFL.
It's not a problem because they're not doing it with a million to billion sponsorship with one of these sports apps. That's the perception that they want to get across. And that's really the only way that they're catching these guys. It's not through like a cash bet. We haven't heard of that. We've only heard of DraftKings, FanDuel, or, again, ESPN Bet is promoting it. I'm sure the NFL will say something about that too, because everyone follows the NFL and what they want.
You don't want to open that door to how many other things are being paid in cash. Bountygate was one high-profile one.
Sure.
That there were bounties being put out, but how many? My point is, I don't think the NFL wants those questions being asked. I don't think there's a lot of impropriety going on with games being fixed by guys through cash. But if you have a high-profile story like this, it at least opens the door ajar for questions about that. Well, if Malik Nabers and Jayden Daniels have this bet on a season, how many other friends across the league have side money bets going about the NFL? Not about their golf game or playing pickleball against each other, but about the NFL in general. And that's just not a question that the NFL wants asked by a lot of people.
Also, think of it from Malik Nabers' standpoint, too. He didn't, when he made this bet, this friendly wager, he didn't know what team he was going to be playing for. He's playing with Daniel Jones and the New York Giants currently.
Yeah. He's betting on himself, that's for sure. He's not betting on his quarterback.
Well, but he didn't know his quarterback.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. He's betting on himself to do it with whoever's going to throw it to him.
I'll do it with anyone.
I'll do it live. I'll do it by myself.
I like Jayden Daniels' chances.
I'll do it by myself.
The bet is on.
They should have made some plus money on it. Like it should not be a straight up wager. I think that he needs to get some juice. Malik Nabers, I'm saying. Vegas shows us that. I think Daniels is like plus 600 and he's plus 2,200.
But what if Nabers ended up going to a team that was actually a contender? What if he fell and he went? What if Kansas City traded up for him? Then all of a sudden, Jayden Daniels has the plus money.
I don't know. I don't think anyone. Xavier Worthy certainly is not on that list of.
Well, he's
Rookie
higher
of the
than
Year
what
candidates.
he would be, though.
Yeah, I think
Worthy.
Daniels as a quarterback's got the upper hand regardless.
Shohei Ohtani has the upper hand with the public perception and Major League Baseball perception currently. With you've had the interpreter, Ipe Mizuhara, who was initially charged with one count of bank fraud. He has pleaded guilty to bank fraud. And initially, that charge came with a maximum penalty of like 30 years in prison. I mean, serious stuff that was involved there. And Chad, well, he's pleaded to this. And the details here are interesting. So he would sometimes impersonate Ohtani with bankers. Have you seen these two side by side?
Must not be a big Dodgers fan or baseball. Angels at the time. Must not be a big baseball fan would be my response to the bank teller.
I mean, he looks like a bank teller.
Yeah.
He looks like the dude has a Mark Davis haircut. You think that is Shohei Ohtani, the next Babe Ruth?
Now, to be fair, Ohtani's got a little bit of like the butt cut.
He does.
Going,
but he also looks like a Major League player. When you see this guy, you're like,
yeah, he's also 6'4", 225 pounds or whatever he is, right?
Yeah.
He looks like an athlete. That guy does not.
So he would impersonate Ohtani to bank.
I am famed baseball celebrity Shohei Ohtani. You will give me the money out of my account right now.
His winning bets totaled
Abe
Mizuhara,
Froman, Sausage King of Chicago.
Mizuhara's winning bets totaled over $142 million. The problem with that is he was at a net loss of $41 million because he is losing bets.
Get this picture up, please.
Is losing bets
as we're talking
$183
about
million.
this, people need to visualize.
This man, Mizuhara, was impersonating, according to prosecutors, impersonating Shohei Ohtani, at the time, the Angel. And the Babe Ruth of our era is apparently on the left, according to bankers, dealing with millions and millions of dollars in deposits. $16 million in total.
It's incredible.
I mean, wouldn't you look this up to confirm?
Well, I got done watching Ripley on Netflix, which is all about someone who's impersonating someone else and getting away with it and taking money from bank accounts from this person while pretending to be them. The difference was Thomas Ripley and Dickie Greenleaf in the book and the story are not famous people. Shohei Ohtani is.
This isn't Catch Me If You Can.
It should be far more difficult to impersonate someone that most everyone knows. That's the real miracle in all this. Is
You're
that
dealing with a Major League Baseball phenom.
He pulled himself off and said, I'm actually this Major League Baseball star.
And the whole quote about he did not wager on baseball remains in the report. No evidence that Ohtani's been involved. And in fact, I appreciate the fact that he didn't have to. He held the presser over in Japan.
Yeah.
Or, excuse me, it was South Korea, I believe, because they were playing preseason there.
Yeah.
So good. Great.
That was actually regular season, but before everybody else's season started.
Yeah, we still had opening day.
A week before, yeah. It was a week before opening day, but it was regular season games.
It's like week 0 in college football.
It can be a little confusing.
Week 0. It's like Vanderbilt, Hawaii in college football.
Yes. It was, I think Northwestern also played a game, right? They played someone in week 0.
In Ireland.
Yeah. The only thing this game lacked was Beth Mowins on the call, is what we're saying.
Yeah, Big Game Beth would have been on the call for this.
Just big game mystique about it.
The whole Mizuhara did not bet on baseball, but he had a winning total of $142 million and he lost over $183, and not one of those bets was on baseball. I'm not buying it. He was just betting NBA, Chad.
I keep
cricket.
I keep thinking about
what do we think he bet on, other than baseball?
Just everything. under the sun.
Like you wouldn't bet on what you know.
Argentinian basketball league.
But
like, I mean, anything you can find. Like, if you're losing that much money,
yeah, you bet on anything.
I mean, I do think that he's probably advanced the point where is specific on certain things he thinks he's got a beat on. I would love to see his bet sheet.
Well, like, he would have 150 to 180,000
to see how much
something,
variations on there,
and he'd have as little as like I think it was like $10,000 on something else. You know, it was like a friendly wager among former college teammates.
I keep thinking back to our guy Tony Hinchcliffe, the comedian that roasted everybody at Brady's thing.
I finished.
I don't even know some of the stuff. Like the thing about Dana White, where Dana White gets done, and he goes, Dana White, millionaire founder of UFC, also a degenerate gambler. No, awesome job. Way to go. It's awesome, Dana.
He's not just degenerate. He wins so much at blackjack. They will not let him play at certain casinos because he wins so much.
But the way he said it was amazing on the walk, and he gives him a fist bump. That's awesome, Dana.
Remember, Taylor Lewan and Will Compton went with him.
That's right.
For the slap fight thing.
And he was teaching them.
He was, and Taylor was trying to go like dollar for dollar with him, I think, on the tape. And you see Compton in the background going, he's nervous, like sweating. And I think they maybe have lost that hand.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Yeah,
Dana White grew up in Vegas, right? He went to Bishop Gorman.
Yes.
So I'd say he knows the lay of the land.
He knows. Lionsgate's already developing a TV series on Shohei Ohtani and Misinterpreted.
I don't have any interest in this. I don't like it. 20 years from now, if they had a story about this, I'd be like, oh, yeah, I remember that vaguely. I would like to see a show about it. Right now that it's fresh in the news cycle,
not just fresh.
I got no interest whatsoever.
We thought this was how much money initially that was taken out of his account? It was a couple million, right?
Yeah.
It turned out to be, 16+ million? Like within a couple of weeks after we felt like we knew the details. So Lionsgate already knows the final story here? I think there's far more to it beneath the surface.
Well, it's one thing to get the rights to a story, right? And say, okay,
but they say they're developing it, though, right?
Exactly. It's not just a rights hold. They're developing a story right now, and I'm thinking, now? Wait a little bit. Give it some time.
And what's his face?
I'd love to see 10 years from now if he's in prison for 9 years or whatever, or however long. Then we have a show that's told from his perspective in prison, right? And then we're going back and seeing it, and we got flash forwards to him
the best he's going to make there.
in prison, like he's running a gambling ring in prison.
Cheetos and Lay's.
I can see the show starting with Ipe in prison running an illegal gambling ring in the Slammer, and then going back 20 years earlier, 15 years earlier, and showing the story of him and Ohtani. Yeah. That's a shot. I could direct this show.
Yeah.
But this is it like Moneyball they're trying to go for here? I don't know what I don't get a sense of what they're trying to do. What's going to be? Is it going to be comedy?
Is it like a loose on the facts?
Hardcore drama?
They have to. I mean, what type of series can you have just based on this? What details do they know that we haven't been privy to?
Also,
can you make a 6-part series on this?
Ohtani is not going to be. Here would be my guess about it, and the only way to play it. Ohtani's going to be a very small character in this show. It's all
much
about
like Mizuhara.
Bravo.
Much like Mizuhara.
I'm going to keep this Kevin Hart and continue here.
Yes.
To steal a joke.
Yes.
Ohtani is painfully boring publicly as a public figure, right? He's just very quiet, is what I'm saying. So you almost have to make him like this god that barely speaks, and then the stories about Ipe Mizuhara and all of his hustling and everything he's doing on the side.
Lionsgate's going to tell a better story about Shohei Ohtani. We're going to learn more about Shohei Ohtani from Lionsgate than we are Major League Baseball. We didn't even get to follow his free agent travels. But yet Lionsgate, a month and a half.
From the people that brought you Tokyo Vice.
They've got the details. Yeah.
We bring you.
Meanwhile, can we not get a Yellowstone finale in faster time?
Oh, gosh.
The fact that we can turn this around fast?
I mean,
please?
Who's going to star in this Yellowstone finale? What if they just have every actor different and they just come back 5 years from now?
Maybe it's the guy who's playing
and they play
Mizuhara.
It out like, hey, don't mind the fact that Colin Farrell is playing Kevin Costner's part. We're just going to finish this out. He's going to play John Dutton, and then we'll play it that way.
I've been watching the Jinx. Maybe they
I need to start.
Maybe they shoot this because Robert Durst is dead. So they shoot it now.
I don't know why that's funny to me.
Yeah, he's dead now.
This story's going to be real compelling when Ipe dies. I know that much.
Yeah,
That's where we're really going to get the good stuff.
Did Ipe Muzahara, did he die the way that is reported? Is going to be the headline. No, they shoot this series now like where they have this actor, but you never see him from the front side. It's always the back side. Looks like Robert Durst, as they reenact certain things.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how they do the Ohtani role.
Could be. Never see his face.
And then you just cast Mizahara.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Mizahara as a young child growing up.
A movie I loved in the last couple of years, Air. That was a story about Nike signing Michael Jordan with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck played Phil Knight of Nike Hutton. In that movie, they never show Michael Jordan. Like, he's a big focal point, but they can't. And they said because he's so iconic, any actor
it's like Muhammad.
Is not going to be like Michael Jordan.
Can't show his face.
Right. So you see him from behind. You hear his voice a couple times in a meeting with Nike in the pitch. Yeah. His mother's a big part of it, is a big part of the story, and her negotiation with Nike. But really good movie. But that's how you portray.
And here's how you
Ohtani.
make it interesting, and how you will get me to watch this. It needs to be like the investigation. You can get some really good actors to do that, like play the FBI, that like the actual the feds, and then it's about more it's more about the bookie than the guy that was taking these bets, who they busted, and then how it leads to this more than it is Mizahara. I don't need to know what tricycle he was riding when he was 5 years old to know how he was able to impersonate Shohei Ohtani. Maybe he showed up. Did he show up in the Angels jersey with Ohtani on the back?
I just got done with a afternoon game. I got here right before closing.
I had a doubleheader today.
Okay. I'm going to need $500,000.
And then I hit some dingers, and now I'm here to catch
it's my
this check.
off pitching day. I could leave in the fourth inning, so I got here in time before you guys closed.
A player who apparently didn't have direct deposit. It was all
just Ipe taking money out.
Oh, it's nuts, man. Hey, Netflix is going to be printing money. They already are. Are they still the only streaming app to turn a profit?
Yes. I believe so.
Let's tie in the
The rest have been like a loss leader for every one of these big media companies.
And all of them are paying like one-offs or like 3 or 4 year agreements to the NFL. Like Amazon
Netflix
Prime.
was the first, and they've done it the best.
They're apparently the front runner for the Christmas Day games this year on Wednesday. And I've been saying they're going to get into live sports, and they're going to WWE for Monday Night Raw. They are after, I believe, the college football playoff. That's where a boatload of money is going to come in. And if they get that, Chad, and they have the NFL, and they're the only app turning a profit, where I believe we're paying right now, $25 a month for it? Think about if they have live sports and what we would pay on that bill,
Yeah.
Do they need it? Well, they're the only one turning a profit. Could they put others out and own it, the whole space, or a majority of it? Yes. With live football, with the NFL? Yeah. And
now, here's one thing I will say about putting them out. That is impossible because all of these other major streamers are connected to these gigantic apparatus companies.
And they're all
like Apple, Amazon,
and now they're all
Paramount, and Warner Brothers.
Well, Amazon's different.
So they
with
have
the money.
Different parts of the company.
But
all Netflix does is this, and they do it very well.
But think about it
company.
from ESPN's perspective, and
Disney,
or ABC.
Disney's another good example.
But ESPN's partnering with Fox and with Time Warner to come together and form this app.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you just
By the way, Disney already owns Hulu, ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus.
And you would think
all of which lose money.
And you wouldn't necessarily have to partner, but they are for these, major companies.
Yeah.
And then you just have Netflix turning a profit. It's fascinating to me. And they're paying a ton of money to Chappelle and others, Bargatze.
Yeah. For
these specials. Now they're apparently going to pay a boatload for the Christmas Day games, those get massive ratings. And I was paying it, so it was weird. I don't know why it hit me last night, but I finished up the Tom Brady roast, which took me 3 days. And
felt like 3 days for Tom Brady, too.
Did you notice some of the faces in the crowd?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the comedians that weren't on the dais.
Shane Gillis.
Yeah. Gaffigan was out there.
Jim Gaffigan, yeah.
All the players, former players, Rod Woodson, a lot of
Rich Eisen did the announcement.
A lot of NFL faces from the league. And then you You have Brady there who is getting paid to do it, but I wonder about the partnership with Netflix. You know, all of that to me ties in. You have Brady. You have Peyton Manning coming out. You've got Belichick. You've got a lot. Robert Kraft is on the committee for all TV rights negotiations for the league. He was the only guy off limits apparently at the roast.
Yeah.
Through Netflix. It's all like if you just try to tie things in about who was there and why were they there, I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah.
And knowing what could come for the rights to Netflix and live sports.
It's a fascinating decision now in front of Netflix for this reason. They're turning profit now big time because they are international branded. They got a lot of they've got shows in every language from almost every country, and they make money internationally. This, to me, the insane amount of money they'll spend for the NFL will be a loss leader for them. They're doing it knowing they're probably not even going to break even on what they're going to pay. But how many more people will they bring to Netflix? How many more people can they bring to Netflix? Honestly, the whole thing intrigues me. Well, it helps you from a perception standpoint, branding, all that, to be a partner with the NFL. I'm not telling them not to do it. I'm just saying they're already crazy successful.
But now,
and they don't necessarily need it. But if they do it, you're announcing to everyone we're a major player, and not just live sports, but live events.
Why you do it, though, is not about the subscribe. You've got the subscribers. You do it so you can play and charge for ads that you normally wouldn't have from advertisers because it's live sports, Christmas Day. You've got a lot of opportunity there to reach a large audience with a live sporting event, specifically football, specifically the Super Conference that will break off, or college football playoff. And around the same time of year, college football playoff, Christmas Day, NFL. And you get to charge for that, just like Amazon wants the Black Friday game.
And also the promo ability of playing their shows, trailers for them in that game during breaks occasionally to get people. You're going to see a big jump in views of shows based on people seeing something they like when they co-brand it properly with, hey, bunch of guys watching the NFL game. What's a show for guys that works perfectly within that Venn diagram that we can advertise throughout and maybe get a star of that show on the broadcast at some point and then pitch people to that show that we think right now is undervalued by the public that we can now get a lot more eyeballs on. It's things like that that's going to help them also.
And didn't you had one of the guys on the dais promote an event on Netflix. It was something coming up on Netflix that in the middle of the jokes, he tied in something that was a part of Netflix, some series. Anyway, I was interested to see how they pieced it all together and why it was Netflix, why they made sure to shoot to certain people. Although Brady did take a shot at Goodell.
He did.
But they didn't take many shots at Robert Kraft.
No, and he stood up for his guy and told him to
He did.
knock it off.